On the wedding day it was 42 degrees Celsius, and my husband locked me outside the ceremony hall for 6 hours. To make up for the perfect wedding of my first love, the ceremony is over. You may let the wife in now, security guard said, but the wife was already picked up by the Bentley wedding car convoy earlier and has now married the crown prince of the capital. The surface temperature is 42 degrees and I am wearing that expensive wedding dress, the one that cost enough to buy half a showroom. Standing outside the grand hall, feeling like a joke about to be roasted, the sun pierces my skin with countless venomous needles through the sheer veil. Beneath the layers of the skirt, my sweat forms a stream, sticking sticky to my thighs. I can smell the expensive perfume of a lifetime on me mixing with the sweat, giving off a shabby and bitter scent. Inside the hall, fragrance and shadows mingle, glasses clink, the air conditioning runs full blast, and just one door away it's a different world too. Worlds apart, my husband Ju Muhung locked me in here 3 hours ago. He tidies an assortment of valuable bow ties, frowning with a hint of impatience and restlessness on his face, and tells me, "Ku Ran, the emotions during the pandemic are unstable. You know, he will come today entirely for my sake. I owe her a perfect wedding and today I must first appease her. You wait for me here." She speaks so matter-of-factly, as if I am not the bride today but a barrier that needs to be temporarily placed aside. Song Yiqing, her first love, the person he kept at the top of his heart for 3 years of our relationship. Engaged for a year, the white moonlight, he says he married me because I am gentle and sensible, able to let him work toward his career without worries, while Song Yiqing is the eternal regret in his heart, a work of art that needs him to guard with his life. I once thought marriage would make him settle down, make him understand who is the one to spend the rest of his life with. Now it seems I was utterly mistaken, incredibly wrong. Time passed minute by minute, from noon to 3 p.m., then to 6 p.m., a full 6 hours. The sun slowly slid from overhead to the west, and my patience and stamina, along with that ridiculous illusion of love, were burned away by the fierce sun. During this time, some guests came out to smoke. When they saw me, their eyes mixed pity, contempt, and gloating enjoyment. Their whispers buzzed in my ears like mosquitoes. "Look, that's Mr. Ju's bride." I heard that Bai Liang had been outside for several hours. Why isn't today a great day for them? It's all because Song Yi, the first love who cried inside like a pear blossom drenched in rain. Mr. Ju must be distressed. TSK, not even inside the door yet. What will the days ahead be like? My nails dug deeply into my palms, using pain to maintain the last bit of dignity. I cannot cry, cannot make a scene, cannot let them see me collapse. This is Mr. Ju Muhung's venue. If I lose my composure, it will only make him loathe me more. An uncle in charge of security, not able to stand it any longer, quietly handed me a bottle of cold water. "Madam, please drink some water. It's so hot today, don't get heat stroke." I took the water, my voice dry as I said a word, "Offload." The cold touch of the bottle was the only consolation in this long wait. Through the huge glass door, I could see the scene inside. Ju Muhung was half squatting in front of Song Yiqing, gently wiping the tears on his face with a tissue. The sorrow and love in his eyes was something I had never possessed. Song Yiqing wore a white small dress, as delicate as a gardenia swaying in the wind. She cried, and from time to time glanced in my direction, her gaze hiding a trace of provocative and victorious subtlety. So his so-called consolation was to act out a deep and heartfelt romance with another woman at my grand wedding. I slowly drank the water, letting it cool bit by bit, until it finally froze for 8 hours. From noon to 8 in the evening the guests were full, and began to leave one after another. The MC inside announced in an impassioned voice that the ceremony had ended successfully. My phone vibrated a bit. It was a message from Ju Muhung, concise and blunt, like an order repeated n times. "The ceremony is over. You may release. Madam is coming in." My feet were numb, the straps of my high heels biting a deep red mark on my ankles. I looked at the cold words on the phone screen and suddenly smiled. The security uncle who had always shown me sympathy received the instruction in the walkie-talkie, stepped forward quickly, ready to open that heavy door for me. "Madam, Mr. Ju has let you in." I looked up, showed her a sincere smile, and then right in front of her, I slowly and decisively threw the bouquet that was about to wither into the nearby trash can. At this moment a long line of black Bentleys like a pack of silent beasts glided up to me without a sound. The convoy was perfectly aligned, imposing and intimidating. The lead car had a license plate. With 5/8 the car door opened, and a man in a black suit with exceptional bearing stepped out, followed by a train of well-trained bodyguards, instantly clearing the crowd of onlookers around. The security guard uncle was stunned. He stammered and asked, "Are you men?" But there was no answer, and he walked straight up to me. Her gaze rested on my face, calm and profound. Then she bowed slightly, making an impeccable inviting gesture. Mrs. Koo wasn't waiting any longer. The car was ready and we're headed to the next place. I looked at him, the head of Yang Yi Group, the most secretive and low-key top aristocratic family in the capital, a figure I had only ever seen in financial magazines. I don't know why he appeared here, but in this moment he is my salvation, my only chance to escape this shameful prison. I lifted the hem of my wedding dress with not the slightest hesitation and stepped toward her. The high heels pressed on the scorching ground, yet it felt like stepping on clouds as I got into the car. The icy air conditioning wrapped around me instantly. I saw Ju Muheng finally realize something was wrong, rush out of the auditorium with a face of astonishment and anger. He pressed his lips against the window, mouthing questions about where I was going. I only stared at him coldly, then rolled up the car window, completely cutting off that ridiculous face from my world. The convoy slowly started, smoothly merging into the traffic. The security guard held the walkie-talkie, his voice carrying an unmistakable shock as he stammered out a report to Zhou Muheng about the anxious urging. "Ju Juzong, the wife, she's gone." What does gone mean? Let him take the call, but the wife, she'd already been picked up by an entire fleet of Bentley wedding cars, and now it seems she's already married the prince of the capital. The Bentley's interior was as spacious as a mobile living room, with the air filled with the scent of premium leather and faint wood, a stark contrast to the surrounding wedding spectacles, showiness and mess. I could finally breathe again. The first thing I did was take off the pair of high heels that had tortured me for 8 hours. The red marks from the straps around my ankle have started to crack, and a sharp burning pain. I walk barefoot on the soft long pile carpet, feeling my whole body come alive. The man sitting opposite me, Yang Suean, has maintained a perfectly measured silence from beginning to end. He didn't ask why, and he didn't show any sympathy. He simply watches me quietly. Those deep eyes are like an ancient well, calm on the surface, yet seemingly able to see through everything. He hands me a bottle of chilled soda and a small delicate medical box, and first tends to the wounds. Her voice is low, with a magnetic allure that demands attention. "Thank you." I take it without pretense. I take out cotton swabs and iodine, carefully dressing the wounds. I don't utter a single sound through the whole process, my motions practiced as if I've long been used to taking care of myself. Inside the car only the faint electrical hum and my breathing can be heard. "Why are you helping me?" After I finish treating the wounds, I finally lift my head to look him in the eye. I need an explanation. There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world, let alone for a man like Yang Suean who stands at the pinnacle of the pyramid. He doesn't give a direct answer. Instead, he takes out from his personal briefcase a yellowing document and a rustic tea-gold ring. That ring is one I know too well. It's the one I've worn since childhood, carved by my grandfather himself only 3 years ago to help Ju Muxing's company with some cash flow. I was forced to sell it to an antique shop. This ring is the token of old Mr. Koo, a former friend of my grandfather. Yang Suean pushes the ring toward me. The two of us once had a verbal marriage contract. I came this time intending to find you after your wedding to tie up this matter, whether through travel or a dissolution, entirely up to your will. My heart suddenly trembles. A grandfather's betrothal, these buried memories I've never heard elders mention. My grandfather was once a state banquet-level master of tea ceremony. His tea artistry exquisite beyond measure, hailed as Mr. Qingjin. But by the time I remember things clearly, he had already retired, living an ordinary life. I didn't expect to see such a scene. Yang Suan's tone remained flat, as if she were stating a fact unrelated to her. "Your husband doesn't seem to cherish you at all." I joked about it and laughed. "But not only does he not cherish you, he treats you like dirt." "So is Mr. Yang now planning to honor the engagement and marry a woman who was abandoned just at the wedding?" I looked at him with a hint of inquiry in my eyes. Yang Xuan anxiously met my gaze without flinching. I need a wife to cope with my family's pressure and some unnecessary trouble. You need an identity to get out of the current predicament and reclaim what belongs to you. His words were blunt and devoid of emotion. Striking at the core of my vulnerabilities, I remained silent. Yeah, I need an identity that will make Ju Muheng regret and look up to me. I can't just leave in a despondent manner. I want him to know what he threw away. I look at the man before me, handsome, wealthy, all-encompassing, and more importantly, clear-headed and cold. There is no love between us. Only a naked exchange of interests which is more reliable than any vague emotion. Good, I lifted my head and there was no trace of confusion in my eyes left, only calm and resolve. Mr. Yang, I need a husband, you need a shield, how about we collaborate? Yang Xuan's lips seemed to curl ever so slightly, a hint of approval flashing in his eyes. Collaboration would be enjoyable. He held out his hand, and I grasped it, cold yet firm. The car stopped at the gate of the Civil Affairs Bureau, and Yang Xuan's assistant had already been waiting there. Al had been taken care of, even the photographer who took the photos was top in the industry. We walked with a green light into the registration hall and under the flash of the cameras I forced a smile. The staff beside me looked at the wedding dress I hadn't changed out of yet, their eyes filled with complicated curiosity, but they didn't dare ask anything. Half an hour later, 2 brand new red glaring marriage certificates were placed in my hands. I opened one. It bore the names of I and Yang Xuan. I pulled out another certificate from my bag, the one I and Ju Muheng had just received this morning. The ink on it even seemed to have a warmth. I looked at the old certificate, at the happy faces of me and Ju Muheng on it, and my mind went numb. I handed it to Yang Xuan's assistant and asked them to dispose of it. It is Mrs. The assistant respectfully took it and returned to Yang Xuan's penthouse on the top floor of the city center, where it was already 10 o'clock at night. The design here is extreme simplicity and coldness, black, white and gray tones, neat lines, very much like its owner, irrational, powerful and devoid of any excess emotion. The housekeeper politely guided me and led me into a spacious guest room, where fresh clothes and toiletries had already been prepared. The sizes were precise, and the brand was one I am used to. The mistress and master said, "You've had a hard day today, rest early. At 9 tomorrow morning, your private legal team will come to meet you to handle subsequent matters." Okay, thank you. I nodded and closed the door. The first thing I did was to walk into the bathroom and mercilessly take off that wedding dress that bore witness to half a day of my humiliation, throw it on the floor and let the hot water pour down from above. I stood under the shower, closed my eyes, and let the water wash over my body, as if only in this way could I rinse away the stickiness left by 8 hours of sun, wash away the humiliation Ju Muheng had brought me, wash away the 3 years of where I had ground down all my edges and shine for him. I looked at myself in the mirror, my face pale, but my eyes bright with astonishing clarity, an iron calm that came after being driven to the end. After washing up and changing into a comfortable silk robe, I finally felt truly alive again. At this moment, the phone I had thrown onto the bed finally began to vibrate wildly again. Inappropriate as ever, on the screen the 3 characters jumped. I looked at the name and my heart remained unmoved, even finding it a little ridiculous. In the 8 long hours she locked me outside the door, she didn't call, not a single message. Now that the wedding's aftermath is over, he finally remembers his wife. I let the phone ring until it automatically hung up. Soon another call came in. I picked up and said nothing. On the other end was Ju Muheng, suppressing his anger, but still with a patronizingly cruel tone. "Silen, had enough, now come back at once. Don't make a fool of yourself outside." He didn't even ask where I was. Safety and security came first. His reaction was that I was making a scene, that I was embarrassing him with the woman who left him. I walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the city's dazzling lights. In the distance, the Cloud Peak Center was the building where Ju Muheng's company stood, sticking up into the night like a giant scepter. Once I believed that place would be our shared kingdom. "Ju Muheng," I spoke, my voice calm enough to surprise myself. "Our marriage ended the moment you locked me outside to arrange that perfect wedding for Song Yiqing." The voice on the other end froze for a moment, then burst into a furious, cold laugh. "What are you going crazy for? Is it interesting for a married woman to throw temper like this? I tell you, my patience has its limits." So I blew on my newly trimmed nails, indifferent in tone, the divorce agreement. My legal team will send it to your email precisely at 9 tomorrow morning. Please check. Divorce from a law firm. Ju Muhung's voice rose by an octave, filled with absurdity and disbelief. Silen, who do you think you are? Everything you eat, wear, use, isn't it all I provided for you? If you divorce me, you won't survive even a month, and the law firm, can you even afford it? Yes, he had always seen me this way. I am the sole heir of a state banquet-level tea ceremony family. My hand in tea arts once caused countless nobles to spend fortunes, but in his eyes, these were useless skills that could not take the stage for her. I put away all my sharpness, washed my hands and cooked meals, and became the gentle woman behind him who wouldn't trouble him. She had grown used to my giving, used to my submission, to the point that he forgot I, Silen, had never been merely a vine dependent on him. Not something you need to trouble yourself with. I spoke lightly. Also, I'm just informing you that I have remarried. This sentence was like a depth charge, and on the other end the line went silent for more than 10 seconds before Ju Muhung's deafening laughter exploded. Ha ha ha, remarried. Silen, have you been sun-stunned, making up this lie to anger me? Do you think there is anyone besides me who would want such a dull and useless woman as you? All right, I'll give you half an hour to take a taxi back on your own, or I'll just hang up the call myself. Then I blocked his number along with all contact information. Saying another word would be a waste of my life. The world is finally quiet. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the slats of the blinds, casting dappled shadows on my face. I slept without dreams, unusually peaceful. At exactly 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang on time. Yang Swayan's lead attorney, Zhong Kai, appeared before me with her elite team of 5. They were all in tailored suits, radiating authority, each one seeming to have stepped straight out of a legal drama. The leader, lawyer Zhong, about 40, had sharp eyes. He handed me a document and said, "Madam, this is all about you and Mr. Ju Muhung's marriage, including potential issues such as property division and defamation, and we will handle everything for you." I opened the document. The listed terms were clear and thorough, almost covering every possible scenario. Yang Swayan's meticulousness was truly flawless. "Thank you for your hard work," I nodded. "I have only one request, to sever all legal ties between me and him as quickly and completely as possible. As for the property, we had an agreement before marriage. His company's assets have nothing to do with me, and my dowry must not be touched in the slightest." "Understood," lawyer Zhong nodded. "Additionally, regarding Mr. Ju Muhung's current bid for a smart city project, we have some materials here that might interest you." He handed me a tablet. On the screen was Ju Muhung's bid proposal, and the most striking page was titled "The Fusion of Technology and Humanity. Look into the Spatial Cultural Experience Program." My pupils shrank sharply. This program, every word, every idea, was tailor-made for him. Through countless sleepless nights I spent for him, it was my unique effort to fuse the essence of our family's tea ceremony heritage with modern technological concepts. When I first handed the proposal to him, he only glanced at it lightly and dismissively said, "What's the use of this flashy stuff? It's just to flatter those pretentious old men." In the blink of an eye, my flashy blood, my painstaking efforts, became his company's cultural soft power for bidding on an important project. Not only did he trample my feelings, but he also wanted to steal my talent, to squeeze out my last bit of value. "This project is very important to him." I looked up, my voice betraying no emotion. Lawyer Zhong adjusted his glasses. "This is extremely important. It's a key step in whether his company can go public. It is said that the project sponsor is a leader who places great emphasis on traditional culture. Ju Muhung's proposal is very much to his taste." I smiled, though the smile did not reach my eyes. "Lawyer Zhong, please help me arrange a meeting with him." The sponsor's representative would say, "The heir to the family's ceremonial tea, who loves genuine tea, is invited to share a cup of real tea." A glimmer of surprise flashed in Lawyer Zhong's eyes, but he quickly returned to professionalism. He nodded immediately. "Very well, madam, I'll arrange it right away." "Ju Muhung, don't you think my tea art can't come up on the stage? Then I'll let you watch with your own eyes how something that can't come up on the stage makes you fall from the clouds into mine." At 3 in the afternoon, a top private club in the city that is not open to the public, I changed into a simple, tailored chipao without makeup, with only a rustic wooden hairpin tucked in my hair. I didn't bring any assistance, only myself holding my guqin, carrying my tea utensil box, and walked into the reserved private room. The person in charge of the project, the chairman, had long awaited here. He is a gentlemanly middle-aged man, and as soon as he saw me, a flash of astonishment crossed his eyes, but more of curiosity. "Are you the heir of Qingjin?" I didn't answer, only smiled at him with a ceremonial bow and then began to set up the tea ceremony. I brought with me my century-old guqin left by my grandfather, and a set of Song Dynasty Jian porcelain cups. I lit a garwood, plucked the strings with bare hands, and a melody of mountains and streams flowed from my fingertips. Then I began to prepare the tea, heating water, boiling water, rinsing the cups, making the tea, brewing. Each movement was smooth and fluid, carrying a rhythm and beauty refined by time. I brewed for him a supreme Da Hong Pao roasted by my grandfather's own hands, priceless in the market. The fragrance of tea filled the air, the sound of the guqin lingered, and the chairman's gaze shifted from scrutiny to immersion, ultimately completely conquered by the mood I created. "A cup of tea, a sigh of relief," he said. "Fame is not as good as meeting in person. Miss Ku's tea ceremony is no longer a memory, but the imagery in Zhu Muheng's plan compared with this is just a mimicked effort, painting a tiger without achieving a dog." I finally spoke, my voice cold. "Chairman, that plan originated from me in both concept and text, but Mr. Zhu Muheng seems to have forgotten to tell me that he intends to use it for a commercial bid." The chairman's expression instantly grew cold. He is a man who values face and hates deception and commercial fraud most. I continued, "I'm not here today to obstruct Mr. Zhu's business. I only want to tell you that true Chinese tea culture has a soul, and it cannot be copied nor stolen. I heard that you have been devoted to promoting traditional culture and are willing to provide the most authentic, top-tier cultural support for the Smart City project without compensation." The chairman looked at me with admiration, and he dialed his secretary's number right there. "Regarding the bid for the Smart City project, Muheng Technologies' proposal has serious intellectual property issues. Suspend their bid qualifications immediately and open an investigation. Also arrange for me to visit Qingqing Tea House tomorrow." After hanging up, he lifted his teacup to me. "Miss Ku, a pleasure working with you." I returned a cup in kind. "A pleasure working with you." Stepping out of the private room, I received a message from lawyer Zhong on my phone. Mr. Zhu Muheng's company's bidding qualifications have been suspended, and he is being summoned by the project party, stressed and overwhelmed. Muheng Technology is the company I helped Zhu Muheng build from a small office to its current scale. The core team besides Zhu Muheng includes a crucial figure, the CTO, and partner Lin Yu. Lin Yu is a typical tech geek, not fond of words, but his technical ability is an irreplaceable cornerstone of the whole company. He is also Zhu Muheng's college classmate. The two of them used to be brothers sharing bunks, but I know a rift had already formed between them, and the source of the rift was Song Yiqing. To win Song Yiqing's favor, Zhu Muheng had diverted funds from the company accounts many times over the past 2 years, from small things like designer bags to large things like a downtown apartment and sports cars. Every spend made Lin Yun as a partner feel uneasy. Lin Yun advised Zhu Muheng that the company was in an expansion phase and the cash flow was tight, and he couldn't keep mixing public and private interests. Zhu Muheng retorted that if a woman you're willing to get soaked in the rain, is your vision still this small? Let me tell you, stabilizing the pandemic is more important than signing a few contracts. These words were something Lin Yun confessed to me once when he was drunk. He felt pained by Zhu Muheng's love-struck mindset and worried about the company's future. At the time I told him Muheng was just briefly muddle-headed. Now I see it as ridiculous. All I needed was an opportunity to make Lin Yu commit completely. That opportunity Yang Swayan helped me create. 3 days later, a closed-door sharing session hosted by Yang Cloud Capital, the top venture arm under Yang Group, held at the top hotel in the capital city. The invites went only to the tech circle's pinnacle figures and rising stars. An invitation letter reached Lin Yu by chance. I knew Lin Yu's love for technology and his longing for a higher platform. He would not miss this opportunity. And Zhu Muheng, because his bidding project had been suspended, was already overwhelmed and had been removed from the guest list. I didn't attend the sharing session that night, and Yang Swayan didn't either. But the CEO of Yang Cloud Capital personally hosted Lin Yun. I don't know what they discussed in detail. I only know that the next morning Lin Yu with his entire core technical team handed Ju Muheng a collective resignation letter. When the news reached me, I was in Yang's family's backyard pruning an orchid. Lawyer Zhong spoke on the phone with a hint of excitement. "Madam, your move is brilliant." Ju Muheng's technical team had been taken away en masse. Reportedly, he smashed everything he could in the office. Now the company has completely fallen into paralysis. I trimmed off an extra flower bud and calmly said that she herself had driven away the most important people. Almost at the same time, Ju Muheng's call came in. Frantically from an unfamiliar number, I answered and put it on speaker, continuing to tease my orchid queue. "Wait, did you pull this trick? What exactly did you say to Lin Yun?" His voice was hoarse, full of crazy questions. I said nothing, my tone was flat. I simply let him see a broader world, a world without favoritism, a world where public funds aren't used to woo women. Then he made his choice himself. "You wretched woman, you've ruined my company. Why did you treat me this way?" "I ruined your company." Myself, I paused with the scissors, sneering coldly. "Ju Muheng, you've probably forgotten that the startup capital of your company was bought with the Tea Sutra medium that I sold to salvage the last remnant my grandfather left me. Your company's first major client was obtained when I knelt before my father to beg for it. When your company fell into trouble, I poured all my dowry into it to keep it afloat. This company holds half of my blood and you treated it as your private cash machine for a single complaint about Yin Qing. Didn't you think you'd ruin him?" On the other end of the line, Ju Muheng was left speechless by my blockade. He probably never imagined that the usually gentle me would settle these accounts so clearly. "Customer, you come back, we'll talk properly." His tone softened, starting to play the sentimental card. "In the past I was at fault. I neglected you. After all, we've had so many years of feelings. You can't be so heartless." It sounded like a huge joke to me when you locked me in a 42-degree heat for 8 hours just to give your first love a perfect wedding. Why didn't you talk about feelings then? Ju Muheng, put away your hypocritical lines. What you've lost, I'll make you repay with interest. After saying this, I hung up again and blocked the number. After dealing with all this, I realized that Smokewater Hermitage had somehow stood behind me without my knowing. He looked at me, a hint of curiosity in his eyes I couldn't decipher. "Do you need me to deal with him for you?" he asked, calm, as if asking whether to have a cup of tea. I shook my head. "No need to kill him to the core. What I want isn't his disappearance, but for him to wake up and see how he has gradually lost everything. I want him to admit aloud how blind he was back then." Yang Sihan watched me, silent for a moment, then said, "The Capital City Chamber of Commerce has its annual banquet next week. All the elites will be there. As Mrs. Yang, you need to attend." I understand what she means. The annual night banquet of the Jincheng Chamber of Commerce is held at the historic State Guest House, with red walls and green tiles, carved beams and painted rafters. Those who can step into here represent the city's top-level power and wealth. For a week, Yang Swayan's team prepared comprehensively for me. Haute couture gowns flown in from Paris, museum-grade jewelry on display. Even my words and deeds, the backgrounds of every important person I needed to know, were organized into a thick stack of documents. But I knew none of this would be my real weapon on the night of the banquet. I walked the red carpet arm in arm with Yang Swayan. I chose a deep green velvet cheongsam, vintage in style but cut in a highly modern way, perfectly outlining my figure while carrying a touch of Eastern classical dignity. I wore no extravagant diamonds, only a pair of warm, imperial green jade earrings at my earlobes. Yang Swayan was still in a perfectly tailored black suit, his presence restrained yet powerful. We walked side by side, instantly drawing the eyes of the entire room. The bigwigs who make headlines in financial magazines raised their glasses to Yang Swayan, while casting probing looks at me. "Captain Yang, this is my wife Ku Ran." Yang Swayan's introduction was simple yet weighty. The upper circles of Jin City all know that Yang Taiyan is mysterious and ascetic, never having any woman by her side. I am the first and the only one who appears beside her as Mrs. Yang. I can feel a resentful glare fixed on me from somewhere not far away. I turned my head and saw Ju Mucheng. It's unclear what path he took, but he had sneaked in as well. Standing beside him was Song Yiqing, dressed flamboyantly. At this moment, the two of them stood in a low-profile corner, their faces pale as if they had swallowed a fly. He looked at Yang Xuan beside me, at the smiles of the bigwigs who had once treated him coldly, and his expression, full of extreme unwillingness and shock, nearly solidified into substance. I merely gave him a faint glance and then looked away as if he were nothing more than an inconsequential backdrop. This disregard was more painful to him than any humiliation. The climax of the banquet was the charity auction. The final item was a bottle of antique-grade Pu'er tea said to be over 100 years old, reportedly acquired from a descendant of a fallen royal mansion. The starting bid was 3 million. The rich men present were bidding not for tea but for face and favors. Wang Dong, a heavyweight in real estate who loved tea, showed great interest in this tea. Zhu Muheng saw an opportunity. He desperately needed to ingratiate himself with Wang Dong to rescue his floundering company. He began bidding wildly, driving the price up: 5 million, 6 million, 8 million, his face turning red, as he flashed a flattering smile in Wang Dong's direction. In the end, he won the tea at a staggering price of 10 million. The host excitedly announced the deal, and the room erupted in ceremonial applause. Zhu Muheng walked with smug pride, carrying the tea straight to Wang Dong and knelt gracefully to present it. Wang Dong, sir, I know you love tea. This 100-year Pu'er is but a token of my respect for you. Wang Dong stroked his beard, nodded contentedly. At that moment I began to speak slowly, my voice not loud but clearly heard throughout the banquet hall. Wang Dong, you'd better not accept this tea. The room fell silent in an instant, all eyes fixed on me, and Zhu Muheng's face flushed to a liver color. He pointed at me and shouted, Kuran, what do you mean? You've climbed up the ladder to ruin my good fortune. I ignored him and simply smiled at Wang Dong. Wang Dong, my wealthy family line happens to have some ties with this royal mansion. As far as I know, the tea stored in that mansion has a unique mark of 3 seals and 1 inscription. The tea cakes bear 3 different seals on their edges, and there is a tucked-in secret on a folded layer of cotton paper that records the harvest year and the craftsmanship. I continued, I don't know if the tea Zhu Yang bought has these features. Wang Dong was startled, hurriedly picking up the tea and examining it carefully. Indeed, there was only a blurred mark on it, not a single secret recorded. Zhu Muheng's cold sweat instantly broke out. He had only heard rumors and had no idea about these intricacies. I went on, moreover, truly century-old Chen Pu would have a deep fragrance and herbal aroma with a touch of camphor, never like this tea, which carries an unnatural, deliberately aged staleness. If I'm not mistaken, this is at most a 20-year-old ordinary Pu'er treated with some special methods to accelerate aging. My words were forceful and full of undeniable expertise and confidence. Wang Dong's face sank completely. He placed the tea on the table with a heavy thud, looked at Zhu Muheng and snorted coldly, Zhu, are you trying to take advantage of me as a fool? Zhu Muheng was terrified out of his wits, stammering, No, Wang Dong, I was also deceived. No one would listen to his explanations. He had bought a counterfeit for 10 million in front of Beijing's upper crust, intending to ingratiate himself with the big shots, only to be exposed by his ex-wife, and he became the biggest laughingstock of the night. And I, under the gaze of the crowd's admiration and curiosity, gave Wang Dong a slight nod. If you truly wanted to savor good tea, you can come to my Qingqing tea house another day to taste rare family treasures, including Japin Qingjin. With those 2 words, the room erupted again. Wang Dong stood up even more excitedly. Nini is a descendant of Mr. Ku Qingjin. I nodded and acknowledged it with a smile. In that moment, I saw Zhu Muhei's gaze shift from anger to shock, and then to complete panic and remorse. Zhu Muhei had lost face at the night feast, nearly fleeing in disgrace, and I became the center of attention. As countless people approached to converse, what interested them was not only Mrs. Yang Tai's identity but also the gold-plated brand of the Qingjin heir. I maneuvered with ease, blending the tea ceremony culture my grandfather taught with modern business logic, chatting eloquently. I saw admiration flicker in Yang Xuan's eyes. On the way home, the car was eerily quiet. How does it feel? Yang Xuan suddenly spoke, and as I watched the rapid lights outside the window, he whispered, as if reclaiming my own belongings for me, It's not only the family's glory but also the light that has belonged to Ku Ran for 3 years, which I had been suppressing. Yang Xuan didn't speak again, but he handed me a folder. I opened it and the investigation materials about Song Yiqing lay inside. This is the weapon you need for your next move, he said it. I looked over the files, and the corner of my mouth curled into a colder smile. The rival I thought was an enemy turned out to be a meticulously calculated liar. According to the information, while Song Yiqing was entangled with Ju Muheng, she had been maintaining a flirtatious relationship with a rich second generation from a well-off family. On one hand, she enjoyed Ju Muheng's guilt-induced compensation, and on the other hand, she had already prepared a safe way for herself to flee far away. He had long applied to foreign art schools, and even the plane tickets were booked. More ridiculous is that on our wedding day, he was not emotionally unstable at all. Surveillance footage clearly showed him shopping with that rich second generation in the morning and having afternoon tea. He sent Ju Muheng those messages seeking comfort, but they were just one of the many pond management notices he sent to his numerous backups. And this self-satisfied fool Ju Muheng treated a bulk-sent junk message as if it were an imperial edict. The so-called plan to arrange a perfect wedding for her was nothing but a farewell ceremony to squeeze out the last bit of Ju Muheng's value before he left. This woman is more greedy than I imagined. I closed the folder. The best way to deal with a greedy person is to strip him of everything. Yang Xuan's tone remained as cold as ever, and I understood his meaning. The next day these pieces of evidence were precisely disseminated through some special channels. Part of them were sent to the rich second generation who had been fooled, and another part anonymously to all of Ju Muheng's company's creditors and investors, along with transfer records showing Ju Muheng embezzling company funds to purchase property and luxury cars for Song Yiqing. Once it stirred up a storm, that rich second generation would burst with anger, immediately severing ties with Song Yiqing and vowing to ruin him in this circle. As for the creditors and investors, seeing their money squandered by Ju Muheng would make them furious, and they would come to demand repayment, even initiating legal proceedings to freeze Muheng Technologies' assets. Ju Muheng's already precarious company would suddenly be drained of its last lifeline. Sinking into despair, I can imagine his frantic state at that moment, and I can also imagine what a chaotic scene it would be when he confronted Song Yiqing, his so-called true love. That pure white moonlight in his heart unsullied by dust had all along been nothing but a joke. For this joke, he gave up the wife who could truly stand by his side, ruined his career, and became a butt of everyone's jokes. Nothing hurts him more than having to expose his own illusion of love with his own hands. My phone rang again, a stranger's number. I answered the call, and on the other end was Song Yiqing's sharp and furious voice. Karen, it's you. All of this is you, isn't it? You bitch, you ruined me. I'm just returning the truth to those who should know it. My tone was calm. Miss Song, you should thank me. If it weren't for me, you might already be abroad enjoying yourself with Ju Muheng's money, and you wouldn't have the chance to see how cheap your so-called love really is. You were so angry you couldn't speak, and let me add, the apartment Ju Muheng bought for you was financed with a company loan. Now the company is bankrupt and in liquidation, and that house will soon be repossessed by the court. I wish you all the best in your life abroad. After I finished speaking, I hung up the phone directly. I would not give him another chance to speak. In just half a month, career, brothers, and love collapsed all at once. Ju Mujuan's world, he was done. A person's character is clearest only in extreme conditions. He began to go crazy like a cornered beast with no way out, making one last struggle. She first called me, and on the phone she was no longer questioning but crying and begging me. Ranan, I was wrong. I really was wrong. You come back, let's start over. Without you I am nothing. His voice sounded so pathetic, but I knew these were not crocodile tears. What he longed for was not me, but the resources, connections, and the identity of the Qingjin heir that I could bring him. Ju Muheng, our relationship has ended. I cut him off coldly. Seeing that he wasn't getting through, his face changed and he started threatening me. Ku Ran, don't forget, we were together for so many years. Do you have any secrets? I don't know if you believe it or not, but I will post all our old photos online so you won't be able to stay in the Yang family either. It refers to some intimate photos we took when we were dating. I felt a wave of disgust in my heart. I didn't expect him to be so shameless as to use such a despicable tactic. Go ahead and try. My voice turned as cold as ice. The moment you post, my team of lawyers will sue you for multiple crimes including defamation, invasion of privacy and blackmail. Then we'll see who's ruined, your reputation or mine. My resolve left him stunned again. He probably didn't expect that I am no longer the soft persimmon he can manipulate. When phone threats failed, he actually went to my parents' house. My mother's voice trembled when she called, Moo Hung. He's kneeling at our doorstep, begging for our forgiveness and asking us to let you come home. The neighbors have all come out to see. What are we going to do? I was furious. He was using my parents' kindness and reputation to morally blackmail me. I immediately called the security captain of Yang Swayan and then drove to my parents' house. When I arrived, the scene was already under control by the Yang family's bodyguards. Ju Moo Hung, disheveled and with messy hair, knelt on the ground. Seeing me, he rushed towards me like I was his savior. Ran, you're finally here. Tell mom and dad we just had a little argument and you still have to come home with me, he cried, trying to grab my hand, but two bodyguards stopped him. Expressionlessly looking at his ugly face, I felt utterly alienated. I walked up to him, looking down at him. Ju Moo Hung, have you had enough? I'm not making a scene. I genuinely want to win you back, he cried, putting on a tearful performance. Is that so? I pulled a document from my bag and threw it in her face. This is preliminary evidence of your extramarital affair and the transfer of marital property to Song Yiqing. If you dare harass my family for even a minute longer, this document along with a more complete chain of evidence will immediately appear on the judge's desk. You'll not only be left with nothing, but you might also face imprisonment. The documents scattered on the floor, the clear transfer records and intimate photos like slaps to Ju Moo Hung's face. Her crying stopped abruptly, her face filled with fear and despair. The neighbors also saw the contents of the documents, their whispers shifting from sympathy to contempt. So he cheated on you. No wonder the girl left him shameless. He even came to his in-laws' house to cause trouble. Amidst the crowd's scorn, Ju Moo Hung finally collapsed helplessly to the ground. I held my mother, whose tears had long since flowed, and coldly said to him that from now on, if you ever dare appear before my family again, I guarantee you will regret having come into this world. After speaking, I no longer looked at him, helped my parents into the house, behind us the bodyguards dragging him away like a dead dog. I knew that his last shred of illusion had been crushed by my own hand. She had nothing left, only one last thing, that company which had long since been hollowed out and drained of debt. Once I completely cut off any thoughts of reconciliation, Ju Moo Hung instead seemed to collapse into ruin, giving birth to a madness of dying to live. She put all her last hopes on the annual product launch the company was about to hold. The product was a smart home central control system, the core technology actually left behind by Lin Yun's team. Ju Moo Hung, in a panic, mortgaged his last property. Even borrowed high-interest loans, spending huge sums on publicity. He invited every media and investor that could be invited, attempting to use a grand launch to create the illusion that the company was still thriving, to attract new investments, to make one last gamble. I obtained the invitation to the launch from lawyer Zhong. The time, next Wednesday. The venue, the top-floor banquet hall of Yunding Center in the capital. I looked at the 4 characters Yunding Center and a meaningful smile played at the corner of my mouth. It really is a crown of heavenly wings and a central zenith, the highest and most luxurious building in the capital, a symbol of status and stature, and its largest stakeholder is the Yang Group. Ju Moo Hung was probably crazy to perform his final solo act on my territory. He thought he was building a stage that could resurrect him, but he didn't know that it was the final open-air courtroom I had prepared for him. Is everything ready? I dialed lawyer Zhong. Wife, please rest assured. Lawyer Zhong's voice was calm and strong, regarding all evidence tying Ju Moo Hung to commercial fraud, embezzlement, and illegal transfer of assets. The entire chain has been locked. The investigative department's colleagues are on standby. As soon as you give the order, we can go after him. Very good. I hung up, then dialed the Yunding Center general manager's number again. President Wang, for next Wednesday, Moo Hung Technologies launch venues, lighting and sound, especially the main screens. Playback system must be absolutely flawless, and give Mr. Ju a bit more courtesy. All media channels should be opened wide for him. The more media the better. Understood, Mrs. Yang. I put the phone down and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside was a clear night sky. I could almost see next Wednesday, Ju Muhung standing atop Yunding, how he would be pushed into the abyss under the spotlight by me. These days have been unusually calm for me. I accompanied my parents to the Qingqing tea house to drink tea and relax. My parents, seeing the steady and strong me now, finally let go of their hearts. Yang Shuanan visited me once. He asked nothing, only played a round of chess with me. After the game, I won by half a move. He looked at the chessboard and suddenly said, "Your style of playing chess is similar to the way you handle things, every step calculated, seemingly calm yet hidden danger. You always manage a fatal strike at the most critical moment." I lifted the teacup and took a light sip. Being forced out, he looked at me with a deep gaze. "This is your nature. It was merely dusted by some unworthy people and things before." I did not speak. Perhaps he was right. Deep down, what runs through my bones is the pride and integrity of the Qingjin family. A centuries-old lineage. I can bow to love to the dust, but when I rise from the dust, I will make everyone see my light. The last text message Ju Muhon sent me the night before the press conference was from a new number. "Karen, tomorrow I will show you that I can rise again without you, and I will make you regret everything you did today." I smiled at the message, then replied with 2 words, "Looking forward." On the day of the press conference, the top-floor banquet hall of Yunling Center was bustling, filled to capacity. Ju Muhon clearly spared no expense. The venue was arranged in the height of luxury with flashing studio lights and far more media and investors present than expected. He wore a brand new haute couture suit, his hair meticulously slicked, his face showing a morbidly agitated excitement. He moved through the crowd, warmly shaking hands with each guest, striving to create the illusion that he was still the ambitious tech insider he once was. Yang Suan and I sat in a VIP box on the 2nd floor, watching everything below through a one-way glass. He looked confident and I swirled a glass of red wine gently. A drowning person grabs at any straw, convinced it's a lifeboat. Yang Suan's evaluation remained as sharp as ever. The press conference officially began. Ju Muhon walked onto the stage, stood under the spotlight, took a deep breath and launched into his impassioned speech. He spoke from the founding ideals of the company to the grand blueprint for the future, from technological innovations to the immense market potential. His eloquence had always been excellent and highly persuasive, and the atmosphere in the venue gradually rallied around him. Some investors who were not fully informed even revealed expressions of appreciation and surprise. When he spoke emotionally, his tone suddenly shifted and he mentioned me. "I know there have been some unfounded rumors about me personally and my family recently." A hint of heartfelt sadness appeared on his face. "But I want to say that a successful man cannot do it without a great woman. My ex-wife Ms. Karen comes from an ancient tea ceremony family. Although her family business may seem a bit outdated in today's era, she herself remains the strongest backing of my career." I almost laughed aloud at this point. He was still flattering himself at such a juncture, even trying to use my identity as the heir of the Qingjin to bolster his credibility. What he said next made me witness the most shameless extremes of human nature. In the future, Muhon Tech will not only lead in intelligent home devices but will also cross into the cultural industry. I will invest heavily to turn the family tea garden, an invaluable vein-like green tea ecological plantation owned by my wife's family, into a top-tier resort that integrates technology, culture, and tourism. This will be one of our company's most important and stable assets in the future. He spoke with spit-flying enthusiasm, as if the tea garden were already in his pocket. The investors in the audience brightened at the words green tea garden. That is a national treasure-grade asset, priceless in value. Ju Muhung watched the enthusiastic reaction from the audience, a smug smile spreading on her face, thinking she had won. However, just as he was about to announce the official release of the new product, the huge LED main screen behind him suddenly went dark, causing a commotion throughout the venue. Ju Muhung spun around and roared backstage, "What's going on? Where are the technicians?" In the next second, the screen lights up again, but what appears is no longer a product promo but a high-definition private video. In the video, Ju Muhung is in his own office, grandly boasting to several so-called investment consultants. He taunts that Ku Ran, that woman, is merely a naive bookworm. while her family's broken tea garden guards a golden mountain begging for alms. As long as I marry him, according to the marriage law, half of his family's assets will naturally be mine. Then I will use the tea garden as collateral to borrow from the bank, not to mention one smart city project. 10 will be enough. His parents, 2 old fossils, will be easier to handle as long as I string Ran along. Aren't they at my mercy once I legally transfer all the tea garden's assets to the company's name? I'll kick him away with one decisive blow. By then he'll be a penniless abandonment, and I will be a business magnate presiding over 2 major industries, culture and technology. In the video, his distorted face, twisted by greed and calculation, is magnified before everyone, clearly displayed for all to see. The room falls deathly silent. Everyone is stunned into speechlessness by this naked plot and shameless visage. Ju Moo-hung will stay in place, the blood draining from his face in an instant as he stares at the grotesque version of himself on the screen, trembling all over like a sieve. The video finished playing, the screen turned black again, and the doors to the banquet hall slowly opened. I supported Yang Swayan's arm and walked up to the stage step by step under everyone's gaze. I took the microphone from the host, approached Ju Moo-hung, who looked at me with fear and despair, his lips trembling, unable to say a word. I smiled at the audience and at him, my voice clear and bright, echoing through the hall. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. I am the bookish and naive person in his words, the sole legitimate heir to Qingjin Chaiyuan. Of course, I should also mention to Mr. Ju that the financing plan you mentioned in the video just now is likely to involve serious commercial fraud. As soon as I finished speaking, the side door of the banquet hall opened and several investigators in uniform accompanied by Lawyer Zhong walked in and headed straight for the stage. Mr. Ju Moo-hung, you are suspected of multiple economic crimes. Please come with us. At this moment, the flashbulbs went off frantically, capturing this dramatic scene. Ju Moo-hung looked at the police in front of him, then at me. All his defenses collapsed at that moment, his legs buckled, and under the gaze of thousands, he fell to his knees in a pitiful state atop the summit of Cloud Peak. The moment when Ju Moo-hung was taken away became the top headline in both financial and social news the next day. The tech prodigy conference was disrupted, a shocking scam laid bare, a noble family's marriage collapsed to seize the family fortune, plotting and scheming, and in the end both reputation and wealth vanished. In the news, the photo of her kneeling before me was magnified endlessly, the once spirited vigor gone, leaving only clownish embarrassment and misery. Moo-hung Technology, the company that carried 3 years of my hard work and witnessed 3 years of my foolishness, collapsed in response. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. When the wall collapses, everyone pushes, creditors come knocking, employees resign, and soon the court declares bankruptcy and liquidation. The subsequent legal proceedings went unusually smoothly under the professional handling of lawyer Zhong Kai's team. Ju Moo-hung was charged with multiple crimes including commercial fraud, misappropriation of duties, and embezzlement of public funds. With solid evidence and multiple convictions, he was ultimately sentenced to 15 years in prison. This meant that the most golden years of his life would be spent behind cold iron bars, and Song Yiqing, as the direct beneficiary of these illegal funds, did not escape either. He was identified as an accessory, and though the sentence was not long, it was enough to leave an indelible stain on his life. His dream of studying abroad completely evaporated. I retrieved everything that belonged to me. The money Ju Moo-hung embezzled to buy Song Yiqing a house and a car was fully recovered by the court. My dowry and the funds my parents invested in the company were also repaid as priority claims. Throughout the process, I did not meet Ju Moo-hung again. To me, he was already as good as dead, a man who died in my heart on my wedding day. It was Lin Yu who had come to see me once. With his newly formed technical team, he had secured the first investment for his company from Yangyun Capital, and the business was operating smoothly. He sat in the tea room of the Qingjin Tea House, watching me skillfully brew tea for him, and after a long moment he sighed. Karen, I'm sorry, I should have warned you long ago. It's not your fault that I pushed a cup of tea in front of him. Everyone must pay for their own choices. She chose that road, and such a fate was to be expected, and I too paid 3 years for my own choice. Now we are both liberated. After taking a sip of tea in the rain, my eyes brightened. This is fine tea. To be honest, I had always thought old Jews' claim that you only fiddle with these flowers and plants was a useless skill, and now I realize that my own and his vision were too small. I smiled but did not say a word. Who among the falcons knows the ambition of the swallows? He does not understand Ju Muhon, and even less does he understand after sending Lin Yu away. I walked slowly alone in the tea house. Every blade of grass and leaf here carries my childhood memories and the family's heritage. For a man, I had once abandoned them, nearly letting them be tarnished. Now it is time for the glory of Qingjin to bloom again in my hands. That night, Yang Suan came, bringing a document. Ju Muhon's company had entered bankruptcy and auction procedures, and some of his core technologies, patents, and client resources still held value. I had someone photograph it for you. He handed the document to me. This is what you deserve. I looked at the document, feeling complicated inside. Thank you, you don't have to. He said this was part of our collaboration. I looked at him and suddenly asked, when will our collaboration end? According to the original agreement, he would help me avenge and I would be his smoke wife, helping him deal with the family. Now my revenge is complete. Yang Suan looked at me with a deep, hard-to-read gaze, and after a moment of silence he said, when you no longer need me. After saying this, he got up and left, giving me no chance to pursue him. After cleaning up the mess left by Ju Muhon, the first thing I did was return to the old house. The house, inherited from my ancestors, is old-fashioned and quaint, filled with the quiet of years. The century-old Osmanthus tree in the courtyard remains lush. I entered the ancestral hall and respectfully presented one stick of incense to my grandfather's tablet. Blue smoke curled upward as I knelt on the mat and looked at the 3 characters on the tablet, my eyes starting to sting with tears. Grandfather, I'm sorry, your granddaughter has been unfilial, unable to discern people, almost besmirching your name and nearly losing the family fortune you left behind. I've let you down. I kowtowed, forehead pressed against the cool ground, my heart filled with guilt. A soft footstep came from behind. My mother walked over and draped a shawl over my shoulders. Silly child, get up. If your grandfather in the afterlife could see you now, he would only be proud of you. His voice carried a hint of choked emotion, and his father also walked in. He looked at me, an usually stern old man, and his eyes turned red too. Rarin is not good for Dad and Mom. At first we realized that Ju Muhon was a man driven by greed, but seeing how much you liked him, we softened and couldn't forcibly stop you, letting you suffer so many grievances. I stood up, shook my head and wiped away the tears from the corners of their eyes. It's not your fault. This is the path I chose to walk, and a lesson I must learn. Although the price is painful, at least now everything has passed. I looked at my parents' graying temples and a wave of sourness rose in my heart. For years I have been single-mindedly focused on Ju Mui, giving them almost no attention while I know nothing of how much worry they carried for me. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. From now on I will stay by you properly. My mother held me as she cried uncontrollably. The 3 of us in the ancestral hall turned all the grievances, worries, and heartaches of these years into tears. After crying, my heart felt suddenly open. That unbearable past was like a scar. It used to be bloody and painful to touch, but now with the passage of time and inner growth it has crusted over and fallen away, leaving only a faint mark. It reminds me of my past stupidity and testifies to my current strength. I no longer resent Ju Muqing, nor do I feel unsatisfied about that vanished relationship, because I have understood that the best revenge is not to trample it underfoot, but to let it disappear from my world forever. While I myself live brilliantly, I have reached a reconciliation with the past. When I stepped out of the old house, I felt completely lighter. I drove to the house my former self and Ju Muhon shared, the apartment I designed with my own hands, where every piece of furniture and every arrangement once embodied my heart and my dreams for the future. Now things have changed. I hired a moving company, packed up everything that belonged to me, and took it all away. As for those that belonged to Ju Muhon and what we used together, I left nothing behind, treated it all as trash. In the end, I handed the keys to the real estate agent and set it on the market for sale. The price doesn't matter, the sooner the better. With the money I retrieved plus the core assets of Muhon technology captured with Yang Suan's help, I founded a new company. The name of the company is Qingjin. I did not follow the old path of smart home development. Instead, I made a bold decision to deeply fuse the oldest tea ceremony culture with the most cutting-edge modern technology, Myas, to create a phenomenally cultural phenomenon. Epic Kingdom is no longer just a tea brand. It will be a new ecosystem that integrates premium tea products, cultural experiences, smart teaware, and online social interaction. I want drinking tea to become a cool, fashionable thing that belongs to young people. This idea initially faced a lot of skepticism. Some elders in the family, including my father, thought tea ceremony was mute, was quiet, and should not be polluted by commerce and technology. Ran, you're fooling around. An ancestral thing like this, how can you mess with it like this? In the face of doubt, I did not argue much. I spent 3 months leading Linyu's technical team in closed development. After 3 months, I held a small internal product launch. I showed them a smart tea art machine that can precisely control water temperature and brewing time, even simulate the techniques of different masters. A Cloud Tour Tea Mountain project that uses VR to let people experience the entire process of picking and brewing tea firsthand. A blockchain-based anti-counterfeiting system that ensures every Qingjin Old Tree tea can be traced and authenticated, and an online tea friend community where users can share tasting experiences, book offline tea gatherings, and even communicate with tea ceremony masters online. When my father put on the VVR glasses and stood in the cloud and mist-filled Qingjin tea garden, watching the tea leaves unfold before his eyes, he was stunned into speech. When the elders of the family tasted a cup of top-grade fragrant tea, the same as I brew by hand, through the smart tea art machine, their expressions changed from doubt to disbelief that day. All the doubts disappeared. I proved with facts that tradition and modernity are not inherently irreconcilable. Inheritance is not about sticking to old ways, but about letting its spiritual core shine even more brilliantly through new means. The Qingjin brand exploded in popularity overnight. Our products were wildly sought after by young consumers. Our offline experience stores became new trendy check-in spots. I myself appeared frequently in major media interviews, transforming from a privileged wife to a young entrepreneur, reviving national essence, becoming a role model for countless women. I was no longer anyone's appendage, no longer needed to define myself by some Mrs. status. I am Ku Ran, the radiant head of Kuz Corporation. After getting back on track, I became incredibly, but I really enjoyed this state, with each day filled with challenges and a sense of achievement. That day, I had just finished a multinational video conference, stepped out of the office and saw Yang Swan sitting in the outdoor reception area. He held a cup of tea brewed by our company's latest smart teacup, quietly sipping it. How did you get here? I was a bit surprised to pass by and check whether my investments had gone down the drain. He put down the teacup, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I knew he was joking. Back then he helped me photograph those assets, and I insisted that he invest in the form of company shares. Don't worry, General Yang's vision has always been excellent. I sat across from him. We talked a bit about the company's development, and every one of his comments was incisive and enlightening, to my great benefit. Unknowingly, the sky outside had darkened, and we had dinner together. He suddenly suggested it, and I was about to say I still had work, but looking into his deep eyes, I nodded for no particular reason. That was the first time I sat down to eat with him in a non-business capacity. We didn't go to those luxurious Michelin-starred restaurants. Instead, we went to a small, very cozy private home-style restaurant. We talked a lot, from tea ceremony to business, and then to each other's childhoods. I realized that this seemingly cold man actually has a soft side inside. That night, I finally showed him a truly relaxed, heartfelt smile for the first time. As the Qingjin venture flourishes, my interactions with Yang Swayan have become increasingly frequent. He visits the company regularly in the capacity of an investor to guide our work. Sometimes we also run into each other at various business events, and our relationship seems to be undergoing subtle changes without us realizing it. We are no longer merely cooperative allies. We're more like confidants with a shared intuition, one glance, one gesture, and we understand each other perfectly. Being with him, I feel an unprecedented sense of relaxation and security. I'm not required to pretend, not necessary to go through the motions to please anyone. I can be the most authentic and powerful version of myself, and it seems that only in front of me does he shed that cold armor, revealing occasional fatigue and warmth, but I always remember that our marriage began as a transaction, and I dare not, nor do I wish to, surrender my heart so easily again. A year has quickly passed, and Qingjin successfully held the first International Tea Culture Festival, which caused a huge sensation in the industry. I was also named the year's Economic Figure of the Year as a result. At the backstage of the awards ceremony, I received a call from attorney Zhong Kai. Madam, your divorce from Mr. Zhu Muheng has officially taken effect today. I held the phone in a daze for a moment. The nightmare that had entangled me for years has finally come to a complete end legally. My heart felt neither joy nor sorrow, only a settled sense of calm. That night, Yang Xueyan held a small celebration party for me, and after the party he called me into the study. He laid two documents in front of me. One was a termination certificate for our premarital cooperation agreement, and the other was a brand new engagement agreement with no conditions attached. He opened a velvet box, and inside was a diamond ring that was simple in design yet dazzlingly brilliant. It wasn't as ostentatious as a carriage, but beside the main diamond, small diamonds formed the shape of a tea leaf, exquisite and unique. Then he looked at me with an unusually serious and gentle gaze. Our partnership could end as of today. My heart tightened suddenly. He paused, then continued, I initially found you only to fulfill a promise to find a suitable partner, but over this year I have seen your tenacity, your wisdom, your brilliance. I am won over by you, and my heart has been stirred by you. He picked up the ring and knelt on one knee. This man, who in the business world is decisive and makes opponents tremble at the mere mention of his name, now gazed at me with a posture almost reverent. So Karen, would you be willing to give me a chance to let our relationship move from a contract into a true lifelong commitment? I originally only set out to fulfill a promise, but now I have come for you. My eyes instantly welled up. I once thought my heart had already burned to ashes in that scorching sun, and would never beat for anyone again. Yet at this moment, beneath those ashes, it seemed a new sprout was breaking through the soil. I looked at him, at the starry sea in his eyes that existed only for me, and finally a relieved, heartfelt, incredibly radiant smile appeared. I reached out my hand. My throne still lacked a male host. I wonder if Mr. Yang would be interested. He smiled. The smile melted like the first thaw of ice and snow, softening the whole world. He firmly slid the ring onto my ring finger. Last year at the Davos World Economic Forum in Switzerland, as a representative of China's new generation of entrepreneurs, I was invited to attend a roundtable about the fusion of traditional culture and modern economy. I wore a new Chinese-style suit co-launched by the Qingjin brand with internationally renowned designers, stood confidently and calmly on stage and explained my business philosophy and cultural vision to elites around the world in fluent English. Tea is not just a beverage, it is a philosophy, a lifestyle, the crystallization of Eastern wisdom. My mission is to tell this ancient and beautiful story to the world in modern language. My speech earned a resounding ovation. After the conference, I was surrounded by countless reporters and flashing cameras. In the live broadcast of financial news, I stood at the center of the world stage, talking freely with light in my eyes and fire in my heart. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in a prison, Zhu Muheng wore prison clothes and sat with other inmates watching the cafeteria television. The screen showed my live feed from the Davos Forum. She stared at the screen at that familiar yet unfamiliar figure, the woman whom he once forced and abandoned, who now stood at a height he could never reach, radiating a brilliance that made him unable to meet her gaze. The steamed bun in his hand dropped to the floor, and regretful tears silently and vehemently slid from his eyes that had long lost their spirit. He finally understood that what he had once discarded was not a wife but an entire world, and I no longer cared about her world. After finishing all the forum's program, I declined all dinner invitations and returned early to the manor by Lake Geneva where Yang Xueyan and I live. He was waiting for me by the fireplace. Seeing me, he set aside the documents, opened his arms, and I leaped into his embrace with a smile, inhaling the familiar and reassuring scent on him. Welcome home, my queen. He pressed a gentle kiss on my forehead. The next day, we did not rush to return home but drove to the first tea estate that Qingjin had acquired in Europe. It was a picturesque valley at the foot of the Alps. We stood side by side on a hilltop, looking down at the sea of clouds and the tea fields that glowed green in the sunlight. Here is the kingdom I built for myself with my own hands. I no longer need anyone's approval to prove my worth, and I no longer need a marriage to find my security, because I am my own country, and I am my own throne. Yang Xuan wrapped his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder, his voice deep and gentle. What are you thinking? I turned my head, kissed his lips in the radiant sunlight atop the mountain, and thought, my country's scenery is beautiful, and you are the most beautiful scenery in my country.